Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new League of Legends video. So I've been doing top 5 lists for quite some time, but I've always been focusing more on the mid lane. So for this one, I decided to switch it up and go over to the jungle. Now I do feel like I know a fair bit about jungle myself, however I'm not an avid jungler, nor do I play this role quite often. So with that being said, I don't feel necessarily 100% confident on giving you guys 5 champions to play in solo queue in the jungle just off of my own knowledge. So with all of that being said, I decided to bring in some help. Today with me I have another YouTuber who is actually a challenger level jungler called Panzer Dragon, who will be helping me discuss all of the junglers that I'll be talking about in this video, and he also helped me rank these junglers from number 5 to number 1.
Hey guys, I'm Panzer Dragon and I'm happy to be here on this video with Redmercy for you guys.
So throughout this video we'll be sort of discussing each of the champions, but without further ado, let's go to the number 5 spot. So in the number 5 spot we have Tahm Kench, who is a personal favorite champion of mine that I love playing with because he's just so darn strong, whether he's in the jungle or in the top. One of the greatest things about Tahm Kench is simply the amount of CC that he offers for his team, whether it's slowing down a target heavily with his Q, or eventually devouring them with his W, dealing a lot of damage and also displacing them entirely. And on top of that, his Q is really easy to gank with because the range on it is nothing to laugh at, and if you do finally land the Q ability, you'll slow them for such a heavy amount that you can easily walk up for an auto attack. The ally you're ganking for can do a lot of abilities as well, and usually the gank will be successful. And another fantastic thing about Tahm Kench, especially in the jungle, is the fact that he can use his ultimate to easily catch enemies off guard by teleporting right behind them without them even suspecting it. And also he can bring an ally with him to further make the gank even more successful, and it could be very overpowered in solo queue. But on top of also using his W to displace the target and deal a lot of damage, he can also save an ally and replace them to a certain area, so he has the option of being played as an aggressive jungler or as more of a defensive utility type jungler.
So those are some really good points that you brought up, but also Tahm Kench scales incredibly well with hit point, as his ultimate's passive gives him more damage on his abilities and auto attacks, while also making him very tanky as his E basically doubles his health pool in a team fight. Along with these points, he has high base damage on his Q, as it does go up by 45 damage per level. His W deals 20 to 32% maximum health damage when he eats someone, and his ultimate's passive increases all of his attacks and abilities damage, and even more when you hit levels 11 and 16. However, some cons that Tahm Kench has is that if he ever gets caught out, he has no good way to get out other than surviving for a long time with his E, or getting really lucky with his ultimate, as if you take damage, it will cancel the channeling. The only escape he can potentially pull off is if he's with another ally whom he can put into his mouth, since he gets extra movement speed, though this is not necessarily reliable all the time. He also offers next to no AoE damage or CC, which usually does come along with a tank jungler's kit. And using his ultimate in coordination with an ally can be difficult to pull off, since you have to coordinate like 10 seconds before you're actually going to do it.
Now moving into the number 4 spot, we're going to be having our favorite cougar in the jungle, Nidalee. So the pros for this champion is the fact that in the jungle, she has probably one of the best pokes in the game, of course being able to use her Q mid to late game whenever you're sieging down towers or you're being sieged upon. She also has very high mobility in the jungle, which is usually a very big plus since you can get to the other camps much easier, and this also increases the chances of you being able to go into the enemy jungle to counter jungle. And going off of that point, she's also one of the most aggressive early level junglers, being able to decide a game almost 15 minutes in just based off how aggressive you play in the early game, especially when you counter jungle, or how often and how strong you gank enemy laners. And also, whenever you're playing Nidalee in the jungle, chances are you'll be getting the Runeglaive upgrade, which not only makes her clear speed in the jungle much faster, but it synergizes with her kit very well since she casts so many spells that will proc the Runeglaive effect very often. And going off of that, the Runeglaive adds to the already very high magic damage that she has with her kit, and she has one of the faster clears of junglers, especially after level 6 and especially after you get your Runeglaive upgrade.
Alright, so Nidalee is definitely a strong jungler, especially in the right hands, but she also does have some cons to her. So she's actually a hard jungler to play as she's very reliant on hitting her spears in the early game to make very good usage of her Cougar form since all of her skills are enhanced. And she has to apply really good early game pressure as this is her strongest point in the game. She also falls behind unless she snowballs since later in the game it becomes less likely that she'll actually be going into her Cougar form since it makes her much more vulnerable if she jumps in at the wrong time. She also doesn't really offer a lot of utility other than her heals.
Alright, so finally moving to the top 3 spots, with the number 3 being Elise. Much like Nidalee, Elise also applies a lot of early game pressure thanks to the vast amount of abilities that she can use very early on into the game. And as of not too long ago, thanks to a patch update, Elise's Cocoon now has a 1.6 second stun only at rank 1, which allows Elise's to now max their W second instead of their E. Probably one of the biggest reasons why Elise is so feared in the jungle is the fact that she plays like an assassin, meaning that she has among the highest full combo damage abilities of all the junglers. She has great sustain in the jungle thanks to her W and spotter form, which is a very important aspect for a jungler to have so that they can continue clearing and not have to back very often. A very versatile jungler who also has great mobility and escapes with her E ability Repel, being able to dodge abilities, go in for the gank, or escape a bad situation.
So Elise is actually one of my favorite junglers to use because I love the fact that we can actually level W second now and also having a very strong CC tool with her 1.6 second stun. But there are some things I don't like about her, such as no big power spikes at level 6 since some other junglers have a really impactful ultimate, although that's a trade-off you get for having 6 abilities. She also has mostly single target damage, which makes her a really good skirmisher, but in teamfights it's not as impactful as some other champions. She's also difficult to play in teamfights because her kit is single target focused since she's very reliant on hitting her Cocoon and going into melee form to finish off her target, which makes her very vulnerable, much like Nidalee, but thankfully Elise has Repel to make up for that.
But now let's move into the number 2 spot, featuring one of the most feared junglers in League of Legends, Evelynn. One of the main reasons Evelynn is so feared and so strong is due to the fact that she has huge early game pressure thanks to her stealth ability. One of the reasons this is strong is due to the fact that it's very difficult for the laners to ward against her, since obviously the green ward will not do anything in terms of revealing her, and they're almost required to put down a pink ward. On top of this, you can also sneak behind enemy champions very easily in the laning phase and catch them off guard. She also has a somewhat fast clear within the jungle, especially once you get Runeglaive, which is obviously a huge plus. One great thing about Evelynn is that she can actually initiate fights even though she's an assassin champion because of her ultimate with the slow effect, hitting as many people as possible, whether it's charging directly at them or sneaking in behind them with the flank and then initiating it for your team to follow up. But speaking of her ultimate, it gives her great tank stats, which allows her to be within the middle of the teamfight that much longer, even if you build her full damage. And the final great thing about Evelynn is the fact that she's very strong when it comes to chasing a target, being able to constantly dish out the Q damage at them with a W for the increased move speed and to remove disabilities like a slow, and using your ultimate as the final resort just for the slow effect to further chase down your target.
Evelynn is also among my better junglers because I feel she has incredible snowball potential and I just love the role through the early game. But Evelynn definitely has some cons to her kit, such as having no CC in her regular abilities, although this can be fixed by going Rylai's Crystal Scepter and having a permanent slow with her Q, making her very sticky. She also falls off late game as if she's not fed, she offers very little CC, and she has to be in melee range all of the time to be constantly dealing damage fast enough so that the enemy team does not have enough time to turn on her and kill her. And the final con is that she has no jungle sustain, so you're going to have to chug a few health potions in the early game, and also kind of creeps a bit, which can be difficult if you're not experienced.
And finally, making our way to the number 1 spot in the top 5 junglers list of patch 5.18 is going to be rek'sai, one of the most feared junglers in the game for a very good reason. rek'sai has high base damage in her kit, making her very deadly even when she doesn't have too many items. She also has huge mobility with her tunnels, being able to set them up in such a way that you can traverse through your jungle very quickly, and also being able to go through walls that are much too thick, though you can still do it. She has a very fast clear of her jungle thanks to the AoE portion of her Q, while also offering her great sustain thanks to her W being underground and gaining some of that HP back. One of the most useful things that rek'sai offers to herself and her team is the sense that she provides when she's underground with her W. Being able to not only see champions when she's counter jungling to see what they're doing, maybe what camp they're at, but also being able to detect invisible champions. So if she's counter jungling maybe an Evelynn, a Rengar that's ultied, or something along those lines. Her ultimate gives her very little downtime, being able to clear your jungle, go back to base, buy your items, and then ult right back into the jungle, or do the same thing with the team fight. Do all your damage, get very low, back to base, get the home guards full HP, and then ulti back into the fight. She's also got a very strong initiation, being able to easily gap close very quickly as well, with her E ability making the new tunnel, and then using her W to uproot from the ground to knock as many people as possible up into the air, with knockups of course being the best form of CC, since it is not reduced by tenacity. Overall, rek'sai is just a well-rounded jungler that has very little negatives but a lot of positives.
Okay, so rek'sai, literally the #1 jungler of Season 5, has always been in the top 5 throughout the season, even when Warrior was nerfed. She even transitioned to Cinderhulk fairly well and was still in the meta, and now some people are actually playing her Warrior again since Warrior got buffed. She's also the champion I climbed with this season from Platinum 1 to Challenger, so I highly prefer this champion. Although she doesn't really have any major cons, there are a few small ones to mention. For instance, she has no CC other than her W, but of course it is a 1-second knockup on command and it's very reliable. And last but not least, being underground for too long can limit your vision, as you might not be able to catch something that is going on around you. And some people might actually just stand still if they see you coming to catch you off guard, but this is why I feel like Sightstone is core on rek'sai.
So that right there guys are the top 5 junglers for this current patch. I really hope you guys enjoyed this change of pace from my usual top 5 videos, obviously focusing on the mid lane. But those ones will still be my main focus. Also huge shoutouts to Pansar Dragon for helping me out on this video. I highly recommend checking out his channel if you're looking for more high level jungle gameplay videos.
Yeah, so big thanks to Red for having me on his video, and I really hope you guys enjoyed my commentary. Peace.
So as usual guys, if you did enjoy, please hit the like button and share with your friends. Check out my other videos as well, my other top 5 videos, and also subscribe if you haven't. But as usual, hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you for the next one. Peace.